Hey everyone, welcome to Other People's Parenting, where we read parenting books and review them for you. I'm Skylar Hurwitz, amateur parent, and this is my mom, Karen Quinn. She is a New York Times bestselling author and founder of Habit Coach and Testing Mom. Hello, Mom.
Hi, Skylar.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Ready to talk about this book.
This book that she's referring to is Jonathan Haidt's The Anxious Generation.
Oh, you want me to hold it up? Okay,
You can hold it up.
There it is. Okay, this is the book. Only in hardback right now, but I'm sure it'll come out in paperback soon.
Yeah. It's an interesting book. It discusses why Gen Z has mental issues. No, I'm kidding. Everybody has mental issues. Specifically, his theory is that Gen Z is particularly anxious because they came of age when the internet really exploded.
Or when cell phones in your pocket exploded.
Yes, not literally, because there was a time where people's cell phones were exploding in their pockets.
That's true.
Figuratively.
No. Right. When everyone had a cell phone with access to the internet, that is what has created this problem.
Yeah, and it is a problem.
Yes.
A problem I am grateful to have not experienced as a child. Mm-hmm. Because the only social media we had when I was a kid was MySpace, which was not this.
Yeah, people didn't. It was a whole different thing. I mean, it was so basic what you had.
Oh, we also had AIM, which was also scary.
AIM? Oh, I don't remember that.
AIM. AOL, Instant Messenger, where we had screen names that were humiliating. And where we went into chat rooms and you asked people ASL, and they always lied because they were all pedophiles.
Oh my God. Well, that was bad too. But
that was bad. But it was not like you were ever, or I feel like rarely, people would never meet people in real life. That's why I think when dating apps became a thing, initially people were so terrified because they were like, oh, like chat rooms? Right. And it's like, no, this is different. Like, you sort of know who these people are a little bit before you meet them.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, let me talk about like how this book is even kind of formed and structured, so that
from our scale goes from scientist to parent.
Okay.
1 to 10. From scientist to parent, how readable was this book?
I would call it a 6, and the reason I would call it a 6 is because the author proves every point he makes, which is good because that means you can rely on what he's saying. Everything is based on science and research. He's not making this up. And so, but he proves every point. So there are a lot of studies to read about and graphs to get through.
So many graphs.
Lots of graphs.
I can't read the graphs. I avoided the graphs.
Well, you have a spatial learning disability, which of course I know about because I'm your mom. But so I understand why you wouldn't look at the graphs.
Not a HIPAA violation.
Oh, I'm
it's
so
okay.
sorry.
I forgive you. We can talk about it.
Okay, can we talk about
yes,
it?
We can
okay,
talk about
sorry, I didn't mean to violate your HIPAA rights. But she has a learning disability. I mean, lots of people do, right? Mm-hmm. But anyway, so it makes it hard for her to read graphs. Always has. Was a problem when she was younger, but, we love her. She can do many things.
I have redeeming qualities.
You do. Okay, but not graphs. Okay, so anyway, there were lots of graphs, but you can skip over the graphs or look at them if you're good at reading graphs that make the points that the author is trying to make. They support the points. And so
there are a lot of points.
Yeah, there are. So what he makes, I'll just go over the 4 main ideas of the book. The first being he's talking about how childhood and mental illness within childhood has really gone, childhood mental illness has really gone up because of 2 factors. One being that parents have become overprotective of their kids, and we keep them out of the physical world, the real world. We don't let them go out and play by themselves or go places by themselves or be with their friends without some supervision. And at the same time, this sort of corresponded with kids getting cell phones that were smartphones in their pocket that draw them into these online worlds where they are not with real people, where they're looking at, whether their posts are being liked or disliked.
Not necessarily not real people. There may or may not be real people
Right.
on the other end of this. Are they who they say they are?
Right.
Do they know these people?
Yes.
Unclear. Where the main distinction he's trying to draw is that we went from having play-based childhoods to phone-based childhoods.
That's right.
And it's unfortunate that kids tend to get phones really early, and there's this developmental window that ultimately closes around age 16.
Right.
And it affects the way dopamine is produced in their brain and the way their reward center in their brain works.
Right.
And they become addicted to these technologies, as I'm sure, even adults can ultimately become addicted to these technologies as well. It's just so much scarier for children because when you're young, you're such a sponge.
Right.
Everything, you just absorb. And it permanently impacts the way your reward system in your brain works.
That's right. It's like when you were growing up, you were able more to go out and play. You had a lot more independence than kids today. So you weren't drawn into this whole phone world.
I had a Nokia, a brick, and I had one game on it, and it was the game Snake. And I was a champion at Snake. I was very good at Snake. I loved it. But my phone could do one thing. It could call. And you could send and receive texts, but you had to press the same button like 20 times.
It was very
to get a new letter. It was labor intensive.
Right.
It wasn't, you would text people, call me. And that's how you would communicate.
Right. But that's not the case today. And it's just done a number on young kids' brains. And that's really what he is talking about. It's impacted their attention span. It's impacted their moods. They're more anxious. They're more depressed.
They're anxious because they struggle to be present where they are because they are always concerned with what's going on online.
Right.
And that is so unfortunate.
Right.
You know, I personally have a phone for my own convenience and not the convenience of others. So, but that was a boundary I had to draw.
Right.
And condition people in my life to understand was something. Because now the expectation for everyone is that we are constantly connected.
Right.
And if you don't immediately respond, there's something wrong. Like a month ago when I texted you at 8 p.m. and you did not respond. And I literally almost walked over to your apartment to see if it was a medical situation.
Oh, I'm so glad, though, that you did because, I'm glad that I was thinking today, like if something happened to me in the middle of the night, would anyone find me?
I would find you.
Okay, that's good because I'm here right now by myself and I've got my dog. And so I was really thinking, would anyone, but you
Trust and believe.
You would text me and you would find me good.
If you don't text me back within an hour,
right,
I panic.
Well, I do too. I do too. And I think, so that's part of the culture that kids are being brought up in today is that, they keep getting these notifications if someone's texting them or if something's come up on TikTok or if something's come up on one of their apps, Instagram,
Snapchat,
someone's
Twitter.
responded to their post and, they're constantly being, dividing their attention between what they maybe should be doing if they're in school or whatever and these notifications.
The point that he also makes is that this permanently fractures the attention span of these kids and people in general. I mean, even adults. Again, like teenagers are particularly affected by this, but anybody can be affected by this.
Right, exactly. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's funny, after reading this book, yesterday I was in a meeting and I was trying to focus on the meeting, and while it was going on, one of our testing mom clients was texting me, and I kept getting bing, 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 and then next thing I know, he was calling me, and I'm like, I'm trying to have a meeting, and it's like, I think if I can't get through a meeting without getting so distracted by this, how can kids get through anything? Because kids don't, they really don't have the defenses. Yeah, that's right.
With adults, frankly, it's entitlement. Yeah. But with kids, I'm entitled to your attention as soon as I want it. That's insane. But for kids, I think it's both habit and everything when you're a teenager just feels like the end of the world. You know, they are so susceptible to psychological warfare, girls. And for boys, I think it's different. I feel like boys have such a more physical childhood. Boys tend to play more sports. They tend to do more group and team activities. Team activities for girls is slander, basically, when they're a teenager.
Right. Well, they tend to be that he talks about that in the book. That's something that girls they're aggressive in different ways, not physically, but psychologically. When they're on social media, one of the things they tend to do is gang up on other girls and potentially hurt each other's reputations when they get upset, that kind of thing.
When I was in middle school, if someone was going to get gamed up on, it was going to be after school, and all their friends were going to gather together, and somebody was getting jumped.
I remember that, and I remember that happening to you. Yeah, right. So now at least you don't get physically hurt, but you know, the emotional hurt.
What's worse?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the emotional hurt is really bad.
I feel like emotional hurt is like scarring for life.
Yeah,
whereas physical hurt, I don't know. I don't condone any kind of violence, but in a weird way, I feel like physical violence, like at least it's typically squashed at the end of it.
Right.
You know, not that anybody should
and then
be
it's
hitting
over
anybody.
and everybody walks away.
Yeah, and I feel like people say this a lot about boys or men. They get into a physical altercation and then they can go have a drink after and everything's fine. Whereas girls, it's like, we will harbor grudges until the day we die.
Well, and they say that social media is particularly bad for girls, and it's because so much of it is about comparing, you know, how we look physically. They look at themselves on, you know, whatever, when they post things, it's like, how do I look? Or if someone posts a picture of them and they don't look good, they get upset.
I'm of the generation where, like, I compete with myself, and being 3 months postpartum, I look at photos of my early 20s self.
Yeah.
And I want to take it to my Botox girl and be like, can you give me my 24-year-old jawline back?
Yeah.
Can you give me the face that I once had? Whereas now these girls are competing with Facetune, which means no one ever had this face.
No, they didn't. Yeah, they
Photoshop. I mean, there are so many famous Photoshop fails of people over Photoshopping like an arm to make their arm into like a small piece of spaghetti, and the background is totally warped, and it's just like, girl, we see.
Yeah, I know. It's true. Well, let's talk about what the decline of play-based childhoods means in terms of what this author says. And what he talks about is just how important in-person play is for children. And it's not just in-person play, it's just in-person interaction with other people. Super, super important. We need that, you know, to learn how to handle emotions, to learn how to resolve conflicts, look after ourselves. And during this time when we should have had our kids, you know, just playing and being out there in the world, instead they're online and they're getting socialized by Instagram or TikTok rather than real person experiences.
Did you let me socialize as a child? Like how far away did you let me go?
You mean did I let you go free? You know, I'm trying to remember. I was considered, I remember, one of the most permissive parents around.
Really?
Yes. And
Scandal.
I was, but I wasn't.
By who?
Well, the other parents at the school that you were going to thought that Dad and I were very permissive, and some people didn't want their kids playing with our kids.
Oh my God!
Because I don't know if I would let us. Like, I remember one time Dad was at the Knickerbocker eating dinner, and he had Sam, your brother, and one of his friends there. He was at the table right at the window. And he let Sam and his friend play on the outside of the window while he was sitting on the inside of the window. And the friends had somebody who knew who he was and saw him playing outside alone without adult supervision. And they called this kid's parents, and the parents came over, and it was a whole thing. So,
How old was
Dad
Sam?
was like right there. Oh,
Yeah.
11 or 12. I mean,
Okay.
Dad was right there. But we were, I thought, a little bit more permissive in terms of, I let you take a city bus to school. I gave you, I thought, a lot of freedom, but it was hard at first. It really was. I remember when I was trying to figure out when can I let her go to the corner by herself without me being with you.
Yeah.
And at first I was watching you go to the corner by yourself. I was behind you. So, I was being careful, but yeah.
I feel like by 11 or 12 in other countries, kids have jobs.
Oh, totally. They do. They do.
Kids have families.
Yeah.
Kids have responsibilities.
Right. And the author makes the point that we need to give kids more freedoms. We really do. And
Although you raised me in New York City.
I did.
Which some people might argue was a safer place in some ways. It was a very different city.
Yeah.
1 year ago when I was a child. But it also, I guess there's two ways of looking at it. Like, do you want your kids growing up in a place where there are people all around? So if something goes down, someone will bear witness? Or do you want your kids to grow up in a place where no one's really around? Except sometimes when someone's around with a van.
Yeah, I know. That's what happens on Dateline every week. It's like I don't know. Like I kind of like the idea of there being a lot of people around.
Also, people in New York will intervene.
Yes.
If someone's doing something insane on the street to a child, someone will intervene.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I understand parents' reticence to let their kids go. I mean, that is hard, and you understand now that you're a parent how hard it is to because you have to trust your child, but it's not just the child. You have to trust the other people.
I'll hit you with the line you used to hit me with.
What?
It's not you I don't trust. It's everybody else.
That's true. That's what I was worried about, although I didn't trust you either. So that was, I mean, you were a kid. You were a child.
Shots fired.
Sorry.
I was a responsible kid.
You mostly were. You really were. And you ended up growing up with really good street smarts because you were brought up in the city, I think.
I was brought up in the streets.
Well, anyway, I mean, but what they say is that this is the way kids should be brought up. Because by doing that, that's where you learn. You learn to fend for yourself. You learn to, if there's a problem, you might have handled it.
I would have handled it.
You would have handled it.
I don't know.
So anyway, so that's what he says. That's how kids need to be brought up. That's how our brains develop properly. If we're online all the time, if a child is online and instead of being out in the world, because it's much more interesting to post things and get likes and become popular online. If that's all they're doing, that is not developing their brain in the way it needs to be developed. And what they, as you mentioned, puberty is like a critical time, and so. We need them doing the in-person, in real world stuff during and up until at least puberty. So that's because that's going to help their brains develop the way they need to.
Yeah.
And
to be in the world.
Exactly.
As adults.
Exactly.
Hello, friends. I'm Miss Penelope of Miss Penelope's Perfect Parenting. Today, I must share my truth with you. I failed to adhere to my deep well of curated knowledge, and my own son, Bleecker, was practically feral. Can you say feral? He gleefully destroyed our chore wheel with his bare hands. His grades were zeros across the board. He incessantly ignored me, and nobody ignores me. Luckily, nobody knows my last name, so they don't know I'm his mother. It was so bad that I had another actress cast to play me at all school functions. It would have been absolute brand annihilation if anyone knew. I enrolled Bleecker in Habit Coach, and suddenly he volunteered to clean every apartment on our floor. He takes notes when I talk to him, and he's performing at a 10th grade level. He's 8. His teachers want him to skip 6 grades? No middle school for Bleecker. So now I need to get that stupid actress out of the picture so I can be revealed as the true mother of this perfect child. Anyway, I must thank Habit Coach for Bleeker's miraculous transformation. Can you say transformation? Can you say actress annihilation?
To be in the world.
Exactly.
As adults.
Exactly. And the way it is now, or with a lot of kids who are kind of on TikTok all the time, they're addicted to that dopamine rush that they get every time they either see a like to one of their posts, or they check to see if there are any new likes, and there aren't. And that just keeps them checking back for more.
He compares it to a slot machine.
Yes.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Right. Kids are walking around literally with a slot machine in their pocket.
Because you pull the lever and you don't know what's going to show up.
Right.
You know, you could win big or you could lose.
Right.
I don't know how much you can lose at any time in a slot machine. I've never played one.
Well,
I've never
you can
gambled.
lose a lot. You can lose a lot. I mean, you know,
In a slot machine?
yeah, there are some that are like dollar slots, and there are some that are like $5 and $20.
I hate losing money.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, I mean, you know, so it is. It's like having a slot machine in your pocket. It promotes addictive behavior, and it does not help a child's brain develop. And in fact, it gets them so used to these quick, instant rewards. That's what it's teaching a child's brain to look for. You know, they can't focus on something if it's not interesting. Like when they're going through TikTok, I think they give it 1 or 2 seconds before they move on.
And so much of adult life is deeply uninteresting.
Well, yeah, and you have to focus. I mean, a lot of times. I mean, focus is critical to being able to work, get through school, do your jobs ultimately.
Hot take, most people don't love their jobs, and yet they still have to show up every day and do them.
That's right. There's a lot of boredom in this world.
Yeah, you must learn to cope with boredom,
Right.
lest ye be bored.
Yes. And what they're saying, what he talks about is, he says, by being on the phone all the time, it's depriving kids socially. They don't have those in-person friendships. It's impacting their sleep because they're on late at night. So their sleep is bad, which causes depression, anxiety, cognitive problems. They have fragmented attention. They can only look at things very quickly, and finally addicted behaviors. And so all of those are bad. And just like as we talked about, girls are more hurt, they say, than boys. Boys get much more into gaming.
Yeah.
Girls are much more interested in social media and that sort of thing, beauty and
yeah, there are 8-year-olds at Sephora now.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. Looking at anti-aging products.
Oh,
it's like, girl,
you can't be serious.
You still have stem cells on your face that you were born with. Like,
Really?
relax. Yes,
Okay.
it's crazy. And these girls playing with makeup. I feel like that's a new thing, too. Like, I see these videos of these, like, 10, 11, 12-year-old girls online. And they look the way I did when I was, like, 18, 19 and working at a nightclub.
Wow.
And I look at the videos that my friends and I used to make when we were that age. We were not that cute. I'm just like,
Well, how
these
do they
girls
look
know
so good? I mean,
they know about contouring. They know about skincare.
so they learn it on TikTok videos.
I was washing my face with bar soap until I was 19.
Is that a bad thing?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
That's not Irish Spring.
Oh, okay.
Not
yeah.
for your face.
Okay.
Live and learn.
Well, kids today know these things, I guess. I mean, they know
benefits
things,
of the internet.
but they shouldn't know these things. I mean, I don't think a 10-year-old girl should know those things. I mean, why is that important?
What does she need with this information?
doesn't.
Where is she going?
I don't know, but she doesn't need this information.
To 5th grade?
Yeah.
Like, relax.
Right. No, I would agree with you. But boys get much more into gaming.
Yeah.
And they love that. And they play with other groups of kids
Some
or
they
maybe
know.
adults.
Yeah, I think different games, it's different things. I guess you can play with your friends. My husband sometimes plays games, and he has this whole group of people he met in Kentucky.
Wow.
And it's so funny because they have like nothing in common. Like some of these guys have never even been on a plane.
But they love to play games.
They do.
Yeah.
They're a great little team. They know everything about each other's lives.
But they're grown up.
They are. They're
grown
adults,
up.
so that's fine.
I will say, when I got to this point in the book, I'm about at 150, page 150. I said, okay, I'm convinced. I need to take social media and smartphones away from my child. And
you can't,
I
'cause
was
I'm grown.
convinced at page 150, and there were 150 more pages to go.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to take it away from my 3-month-old for sure.
oh, for sure. I mean, at this point, yeah, I was so convinced. It was like, I don't even need any more of the book.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I've seen enough.
I have. I was, and I think most people who read this book will be thoroughly convinced
I agree.
that this is what we need to do. And it's not easy. And so they talk about in the book what can be done. And first he talks about what the government can do.
Which should be more.
And tech companies.
But it's not, his whole thing is it's really not in the tech companies' shareholders' interest for people to use these apps less.
Right.
So one thing he does suggest is for example, you go to a bank. You have to verify who you are.
Right.
The bank, everybody else doesn't need to know that you have an account at this bank, but the bank needs to know who you are.
Right.
Unless it's HSBC.
Oh.
Which, tea for another time.
Okay.
But essentially, he's like, everybody should be verified for their age on the internet,
Right.
and in the interest of just being like, this is who they say they are.
Absolutely. No,
To
absolutely.
keep kids out of adult spaces. And he
Right.
argues that the internet is an inherently adult space.
Which it is.
It is.
It is. For the most part. I mean, there are educational apps and things like that are designed for children, and those are okay. But in terms of social media, he says that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's not talking about maybe a long movie that a child might watch, or talking to their grandparents on FaceTime or something like that, or doing some educational apps. Those are fine.
Yeah.
But what he is talking about is kids being on TikTok, kids being on Snapchat, which, I mean, these are all adult spaces. These children do not belong there.
I've never had a TikTok because I just feel like, I know people of all ages are on it, but personally I just feel too old, and like I have too much ADHD. Or
Right.
I'm afraid it will take over my life because that's what it is designed to do.
Yeah, yeah.
He also, there is a podcast that he talks about the book on where he mentions communist China several times, which I thought was very funny.
The TikTok is owned by
Yeah.
a Chinese company.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about.
And perhaps it's a psyop.
yeah, maybe they're trying to hurt us. I don't know. I mean,
With
that's what he
what?
says. Well, no,
Our stupid videos?
well,
I don't
who
know.
knows? Serving up information that could be bad for us, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can wait for government or tech companies to change.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope they do. I hope they pass laws that make it harder for
it's
kids to be
hard.
online. But I don't think we can wait for that. So
It's hard when everyone has it. That's the issue. It's how do you justify to your teenager, I know all of your friends have this app and
Yeah.
their parents think it's okay. I don't.
Right. Well, what he talks about is trying to get parents to band together and pledge not to give their children smartphones before high school and not to give kids social media before age 16. That is what he advocates that parents should do. And he says that, the issue being if all their friends are doing it or have phones, they're going to be upset.
Yeah.
But if other parents are doing the same thing, then kids would be willing to go along with maybe not having a phone till they're older. So it's a group problem, and it really requires a group solution.
Yeah.
So that's what he talks about.
They talk about these things. They're called wonder bags or something.
Yes.
I had my first experience with one last week where you put your phone in it
Right.
and it locks, and at the end of whatever it is you're doing, it
Yes.
gets unlocked.
Right.
And I think it's interesting. I actually
For schools.
think for
He
school, I
talks
think-
about it for schools.
I think
yeah.
that would be a really good idea for schools. I know some parents are against it. And I can understand why. It's like you want to be able to communicate with your kid if, God forbid, the worst happens.
Yeah.
But which is so unfortunate that that is enough of a justification for them not doing it. Like, what world do we live in?
Yeah, I mean, because he really talks about how disruptive having a phone in school is for children, and that even schools that ban cell phones but allow them, like they ban cell phones during class but allow them between classes, that means kids aren't going to be talking to each other. They're just going to be checking their social media in between classes. So he advocates, ban cell phones from bell to bell, morning to night. And I think that makes sense.
He also talks too about how as a parent, and this really struck me, as a new parent, I have an infant and there's a lot of downtime. You know, babies sleep a lot, when she's nursing, and there is an impulse to check my phone. And he's like, do not do that. When you are with your small child, you need to be focused on your small child. Not because they're in danger, but because they're learning social cues too.
Yes.
They're learning, they're looking for eye contact.
Right.
They're looking for some form of communication.
Right.
And it's really important at that developmental stage that they are connected to in that way.
That's right. If they're trying to connect with you and you're sort of half paying attention to them and half paying attention to your phone, they're not developing the way they need to develop. That eye to eye contact, and that where they copy what you do, where you say something, they respond. That they're learning at that point. So you have to keep that open and be really focused. That's right.
And my baby, she loves to stare. She stares and stares.
Well, she's very communicative. She really is.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to lose that by...
No, I don't want to discourage it. No. I don't want her to give up.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say that, okay, so he's saying, he is saying that you want to give your kids more experiences in the real world, and one of the things he says is let your kids out of your sight without having a way to reach you. So if they have a problem, they could solve it themselves. I would disagree with that. As a parent myself, and he's a parent too. So, people have different views about this. But I don't know. I think you can give a child a cell phone or that doesn't have social media on it, but does allow them to get in contact with you if there's some urgent situation.
Yeah. Or like you, secretly tracking me.
Oh,
My mom got the first phone that you could track people on.
I did.
It was a Nextel. It was the kind that you could chirp people on. And only 2 of my other friends had them, and construction workers. But you could track me.
I did. I was the first parent who did that in the whole block.
Yeah, except joke's on you, because when I figured that out, I would leave my phone in acceptable places and not be reachable.
Oh, did you? Did you do that?
I did not want to be tracked.
Oh, really?
And surveilled.
Oh. You know what it was it was a cell phone that had a tracking program for truckers, that trucking companies could see if their trucks were being driven off where they were supposed to be, and that's why they had that. It was the only cell phone that had that program, and I
Leave
found
it to teen.
I found it, and I gave it to you so that I used to sit there and wonder why you weren't moving for so long. I guess that's why. Okay,
that's why.
But now every parent does it. I mean,
I track
you
your
track
location.
me, I track you.
Yeah. I love collecting locations.
I do too.
So just give me your location. Don't worry about what I
like
need
to know where people are.
Me
I
too.
agree with you. That's fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he also says it's important to give your teens access to transportation so they can get around on their bikes or on the bus and that sort of thing. And he tells us not to be tied to our own phones in front of our kids. That's really important.
One phrase he brings up a lot is this idea of the great rewiring. So this is that suddenly our brains have evolved towards technology, particularly kids, but really everyone. And he talks about how this sort of collectively brings us down.
It does, yeah.
Because there's this disembodied element of it where you can leave a comment on a post and you don't have to watch someone's face fall if you say something cruel to them.
Right.
You know, there's no accountability, really.
Right.
You know, and I think that is terrible. I think you really, so much of what social interaction is are these small things. Learning to listen is not just about what you hear, but about other things that you observe in communicating with people. And missing out on that is so, it's just like, it's awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it is. I would agree with you. And you know, it is tough that that kids can be and adults can be anonymous online and say such cruel things to each other, things we would never say to each other in real life. And you know, I just and the rewiring, I think, is just also that he's referring to too, is just the idea that with kids being influenced so much by, you know, being online in social media, where they're being interrupted constantly, and where it's just such a pull to them to get on. You know, they say even if your phone, you don't have your phone on and in front of you, if it's just with you, it's pulling you to it, and it's like it's messing with our brain. It's messing, and it especially messes with a child's brain, and they are not ready to handle that. And so that's why we need to keep these programs out of children's hands. And it's up to us as adults to do the hard thing to make that happen.
Yeah.
And luckily, you've got a young child. I know it's harder for parents with older kids, but you read the book and you'll see he gives ideas of how you can deal with it when they are older. If you have to step in and start to set some boundaries, because it's not too late. I would step in. If I had an older child right now, I would step in immediately and make some changes.
God bless to you, because that's not
It
going
would
to
be
be
hard.
easy.
No, it would be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one other point I really liked that he made. Oh, one big thing he mentioned that he is a suggestion for everyone is don't keep these addictive apps on your phone. Put them on your laptop. Put them on your iPad. But don't keep them with you in your pocket.
Great idea.
Yeah, and the apps he's talking about specifically are Twitter,
TikTok.
Instagram, TikTok. So you don't necessarily have to completely get off of these things, but make it harder for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, don't use it as a tool every time you get bored to just go on and check because it becomes compulsive.
Right.
You know, and again, these are opportunities for interactions.
Right, with other people.
Yeah, and not that everybody likes to talk to people in line at a grocery store or a coffee shop, but I don't know, leave yourself open. You never know who you'll meet.
That's right. That's right. No, it was an excellent book, I would say. And I think a book every parent should read, absolutely. And I think we're going to learn more and more about how smartphones and some of these apps have been impacting children's brains. You know, I probably more kids are going to get diagnosed with ADHD because
I feel like this creates ADHD. You know, I mean, there's so many things. ADHD is such a complex, nuanced thing.
Yeah.
But I do think while there is a hereditary element.
And there is.
I think also it can be brought out by certain things.
Right.
You know, and that fractured attention span is a symptom of ADHD, but it's something that anybody can experience when exposed to the wrong things.
As their brain is developing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Developing brains are delicate.
They are.
They're easily influenced.
You have to baby them.
You have to baby them.
That's right.
Yeah.
We do.
I am going to be moving to an Amish community when my child turns 8 so that I can avoid all of this.
I'll come visit.
And thank you. You are welcome to. Although I won't be able to communicate with you because I will not have a phone.
Oh, dear.
And she will learn to churn butter.
Okay.
And she will learn vocational skills.
Good.
Yes.
That'll be the ultimate in-person experience.
She'll become an electrician.
That's fine.
That's great.
I'll be proud of her no matter what she does. It's fine.
I'll let her know.
Okay.
I'll let her know.
Anyway, we recommend the book. Would you say you recommend the book?
I would say I recommend it. I was surprised by a lot of it. It wasn't what I expected it to be, but I am terrified and I will probably be throwing my phone out the window. On that note, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Other People's Parenting. Please join us again next week.